Hello everyone, let me know if you can hear me. Can you hear my voice? Is the video and audio okay? Hello, hello, hello. Can you hear me? I hope you can hear me. All right. All right, all right. All right, hope everyone's good. As always, we'll discuss my last couple of videos. No, I haven't lost weight. I'm using a 24mm lens which widens everything and squashes me. So so I often get people saying, you lost weight, you've gained weight, you've lost weight. So whenever you say for instance use a 24mm lens, you see everything wider, but it squashes you, it makes you look thinner. When you use a 50mm lens, you look wider. 50mm is more approximate to what your eye sees, and then when you go higher, 85, 100, you're wider and wider and wider. Richie asks, do you always do Saturday live sessions? Usually, yeah. I find these are the best for everyone. I've tried other nights. Doesn't always seem to be the best, or like people work. But I think one of the weekend nights, Friday night, Saturday night, or Sunday, is probably the best. Friday, Saturday, I'd say. BMCA, good morning from Belfast. Brad says lens cheat. Yeah. I think because of the distance to my mic and how I have things set up around my desk and everything, where my camera is just behind my monitor, this shows a good portion of me. I think this is a comfortable view, regardless of how thin or fat I look. Yeah, as always, if it drops out for some reason, I'll try and reconnect. During the week, my computer crashed. I had to reload everything, format the hard drive, reinstall Windows, reinstall everything. After a few years of setting up my stream exactly the way I liked it, with all my settings, I had to redo everything, and I didn't write anything down, and I had to intuitively try and remember it all. So, am I loud enough? Sounds good and clear. Okay, cool. All right, hopefully this audio is easier to listen to. It's smoother, it's not as harsh as some other times. I'm always trying to get the audio as best I can, especially so it's not fatiguing to people's ears. Thanks Feral Android for the super chat. He says, aloha from yesterday in Hawaii. Yeah, the main topic of the last couple of videos has been, I've always mentioned and talked about how you speak to yourself, the language you use. I think it's the most important thing in terms of you not getting frustrated out there, especially with women, the world, whatever it is. Look, I know it's entertaining to go out there, to watch videos that are clickbaity And it's almost like watching a soap opera. Can you believe what they did? Can you believe how I screwed up again? It's like, yeah, it's entertaining. Not so much when it happens to you. Not so much when you can't sleep at night. Smart Guy says, I claim my hard drive just in case that happens. Yeah. I always feel like I'm wasting a hard drive for years and years and years. Look, I don't use a lot of programs. I use a few programs from the Adobe suite, and the rest is just a handful of little apps. So it's not such a big deal. But for instance, with this, like my stream setup, there are a lot of things that are interconnected, a lot of things that are got to work together in harmony. That and since the update, and now that I've updated Streamlabs, there's a whole bunch of settings I've never been used to. For instance, the way my stream is set up is very different. I did a test run last night. Luckily I did, because it wasn't working for about 10 minutes until I figured out how Streamlabs does things differently now in the new version. Now, there's an automatic way to set up. I won't bore you with the details, but yeah, before I was setting it up a manual way. Yeah, for those of us in Australia, we had the AFL football grand final last night. Melbourne won the grand final after, I don't know, many years. I mean, I'm talking decades, isn't it? From the 1950s or something. I'm not a big football fan, but I do, if I have to go for one team, I go for the Bulldogs, only because my parents do. I'm from the West. They played good in the third quarter. First, most of the second, and third, they were atrocious. So I suppose they didn't deserve to win. It's funny, two Melbourne teams playing in Western Australia because of their restrictions. Yeah, 21st Dissident said, you're still allowed football in Australia? Barely. They played it on the opposite side of Australia in Western Australia. There we go, Donna. It says 57 years since Melbourne won. So that was good. Yeah, growing up, I always knew that Melbourne were near the bottom most of the time. They were never a good team, so it's good that I like seeing underdogs win. So remember, guys, if you want to ask me a question in the chat on your right, make sure you put a whole bunch of emojis at the start of your question just so I can see them. Otherwise, feel free to chat. The reason why I've always thought it was, and still think it's essential to know how to speak and think, is that you're led very often by people, and especially by women. They always have an opinion. Always. They seem supremely confident about what they want because they get so frustrated. Why aren't you doing this? This is the way a man's supposed to do it. It always comes off like we're fumbling around trying to do the right thing in a relationship because we're somehow inept. That's the way the script goes. And so from a man's point of view, he knows in his world when experts and people who do know what they're doing, have a position of authority, are frustrated when you're not doing your job right. Men like doing their job right. And men, when they like a woman dearly, want to do their job right with her. And she comes off as someone just with their arms crossed, disappointed at you not doing it right. So this is a man's instinct is to be frustrated at himself, not her, that he's not doing it right. He doesn't like not working it out. He doesn't like fumbling around, especially because he's supposed to be in charge. It's almost like his employees, the whole company, is disappointed and upset at him that he's letting the company down. The company's going downhill. The stocks are going down. The company's about to go bankrupt. That's the kind of feeling, the responsibility a guy has. He's told he's responsible. He's told if he's not in charge, he should be, and he's steering the ship. And why is it running aground? So everyone's disappointed. So when you know yourself how to speak, express your views better, ask questions even. So you don't just get the look from the woman. If she's upset, say, okay, tell me exactly what you want me to do. And you don't accept well, you just don't get it. No, you seem so sure. Tell me exactly why you're upset. What would you have me do? No, this is not fair. Do you see what I mean? Know how to speak. Don't just sit there like a lump being talked down to by mummy. Because you love mummy and she's disappointed in you all the time. How dare you, says a woman was criticizing MGTOW, saying that relationships are a dance. You need two people, therefore men are to blame too. What would be your response? When it comes to biologically, women know that men follow women. We have to ask her out, we have to impress her, we have to make her laugh, we get on one knee, we marry her, we buy the house. If we don't have a car, if we don't have money, she won't want to be with us. She's going to pick the most impressive guy. So we have to impress her. So she's the one leading it. We ask her, that's about it, but she's the one that says yes to men. And so following that, if women are acting like we don't need you, and we can't get a woman, and then by the time we're in our 30s and 40s, we give up, we've spent our time trying to be the nice guy, and now we're not that interested anymore because women didn't want it when they were fertile. And when women were interested, I would say, well, we tried. You didn't want to settle down. You wanted to travel. You wanted your career. You wanted whatever, fine. But now, how long would you keep trying to be the nice person? How long would you, as a woman, go be a nice person to decent men, and then those men would just leave you for no reason? Or how often would you go to a restaurant or some place, or how long would you live in a neighborhood that was bad? You gave it a chance because you had some sort of sentimental attachment to it. Your parents lived there or whatever it might be. You grew up there until it got so bad and you said, like, I can't live there anymore. You move out, you've had enough, and then a few years later, they've cleaned up the neighborhood and they're trying to entice you back, but you're quite comfortable where you are. Why should you move now? You tried your best to kind of live in the place as a nice person. I don't know. I think it's a cop-out with women. They're the ones forever denying relationships. They're the ones that need to say yes to men. Men can't have relationships with them. We can't kiss them. We can't go to bed with them. We can't do anything without their approval. And the laws make sure of that. And well, it should be, right? Because most men don't get off on being a woman unless she wants him to. You know, the brutal days of the long, long past where a man could just kind of take what he wanted, they're long gone. And a man doesn't get off on that. A man gets really excited when she wants him. So, am I in focus? Anyway. So, when they say it takes two, it does. But if one of the two were forever acting like a wretch, always denying, never wanting to settle down, always wanting to party, when the party's over and now she's ready, when her eggs are starting to dry up, when she becomes invisible, there's no point saying, oh, now I'll come back. I often I often give the analogy of this. Imagine you're a woman and you're a nice wife and you treated your husband well. And then after, because I'm thinking in terms of your 20s, when guys really want women and she's most fertile and guys' drive and attraction to women is at its highest. You both want each other, but the woman is acting very resistant. Here's the analogy you give women. Imagine you as a woman were with a guy, you tried to treat him well, and he never treated you well, treated you like dirt, laughed at you, condescending, took you for granted, barely acknowledged you. You had enough and you just left, right? Which is what men are doing when they go to their 30s. So you leave. Then later, right at the end, when you said you're not interested, when the party's over, then he says, "Oh, baby, look, I've seen my ways. I want you back." Would I have the right to say, "Well, you should take him back now"? Each guy knows how much he's tried, and I tell guys to be honest. Don't pretend you were a nice guy when you weren't. But most guys try to be the nice guy, and women know most guys try to be, yet women don't like nice guys. So I think women don't want to face the shame that they didn't want to choose, and now when it's too late, no one wants them. They can't get anyone to ask them anymore. So there's no point trying to lay more shame onto guys and saying, "Well, it takes two. You guys are mean." It's like, we're not mean. We're neutral. We don't care anymore. We don't hate you, but we don't like you. We like our own life. You know, the life you got us used to through your 20s and now into the 30s. We've gotten used to this mode. The concrete has set, and it takes a massive effort to change that. Do you know how hard it is, ladies, to convince a man who's gotten older and older and older through all the years of experience, not just what he's been through, but how secure he's made his life and the routines and who he is, now to come into his life later because there's a desperation of realizing, I'm going to be alone in the later years of my life. I'm not going to have anyone. Not because you want men, but because you don't want to be alone. Oh, poor me, the party's over. The music has stopped. That's kind of insulting, and that's why a lot of guys don't care. We don't wish you ill, but most guys think you're on your own. And they'll say, "Oh, guys are really cold," but it's just balancing itself. Women were really cold towards men and distant. Men are just doing it later on. And it's not intentional, it's just naturally. Like you put in something initially, ladies. And unfortunately, women have the responsibility of that. They've got the fertility, the eggs. They can have any guy they want. They don't choose anyone. They want to keep their options open. When they have no options later on, then they still have high standards. This is the dumb thing, because women, they've partied and they've been with a lot of guys they've dated. They might have had the quarterback, the best guy for a night, but they think because they can have that guy for a night or a hookup on Tinder, that I can get that guy. So it's possible. It's only possible for a night. Just in a way that I can go to a Ferrari dealership and test drive a Ferrari. You have to know what's realistic. Women don't. They just see, I was with him for a night. I could get him. He really wanted me. But yeah, could you really get someone that... Who could you get that would really care for you and want to introduce you to his family and friends and be serious with you? Who could you get then, ladies? That's your standard. And also look at your own personality. I don't just criticize women. I criticize men, probably more so. You look at most of my videos, it's all about how a man needs to think and behave and what bad decisions he no longer needs to make anymore and he shouldn't make. So it's all about you, and women are an example. Women are a potent example. If you can calibrate yourself with them in clear focus, life becomes easier. Key himself, thank you for the super chat. He says, do you think happy couples are faking in public? No, not all of them. But you can actually see, I think the more conversant you are in these subjects, and if you pay attention, if you're a people observer, people watcher, you can actually see the guy at the shopping centre, the husband with his head down, following his wife. Sometimes when you listen to their conversation, you can actually tell if they're compatible, if they're two people who complement each other, who can talk. He's really saying what he thinks. They're like almost like friends. Compatibility is a big thing, especially if you want anything long term and you want less headaches in your life. You need to be compatible, and that's why I always say to try and judge her like you would a friend. I know your lover is different to your friend or family, I know, but the core that you run on should resemble friendship. And the reason I say that is because at the core it's things like virtue, trust, temperament, your character. So you notice that the couples who have a longevity, who understand each other, who have each other's backs, who are on each other's team, all those kind of things where you say, oh, they're lucky. Maybe. But really, take a look at why they get along. So don't rely on luck. Don't just go for any woman that looks hot. Try and look at why they get along, how they speak, why they're compatible. And then consciously try and match yourself to someone who's like you so you can get something approximating that compatibility. Being introspectively self-interested is the key, guys. It's not just philosophical mumbo-jumbo. It's kind of so you know how you're living, so you know what you're saying, and then how you feel in life. Don't avoid the feelings and just look at the stats and, you know, I'm a biological animal, she's a biological animal, we're meant to procreate, stress is a given, we're supposed to be at each other's throats because men and women aren't compatible. Yet men and women have different instincts and different things they're interested in. But I'm sure all of you have been around, if you're a man or a woman, you've been around the opposite, and whether it's a guy or a girl, you get along with people and you don't. So you do or you don't. Try and get along with people. If you don't, walk away. But really pay attention to the compatibility. It's just common sense, guys, really. Are you going to have a better life if you choose to be with someone, if you want to choose to have a lover, for them to be compatible with you, or a hot mess? Now, they sell you the drama, especially in a lot of women's romantic dramas. Think about that. Why romantic dramas or comedies are popular for women. Comedy, drama. Do you want that in your life? Do you want something that's not calm and, for lack of a better word, leading towards somewhere between boring and normal and calm? I want my life there. I don't want it towards drama and comedy and chaos and slapstick and never sort of resting. Dario says, my breakup with my ex-wife hit me pretty hard. She's a malignant narcissist, so the grieving process was a damn roller coaster. Yeah. And if you don't know yourself, if you don't speak up in the relationship, it is going to be a roller coaster. You're going to be trying. You're going to be a guy who really values a relationship, who doesn't want to give up, which is a great trait, right? This is what makes a good friend, a good father, a good person, a good citizen, someone who you know you can count on. But if you've got another partner, she doesn't care. You're not compatible. She's fighting for you to do everything she wants. She just wants you a compliant person. I just don't know why guys don't have that level of self-preservation. They get with a girl who's filled with drama, and they think it's a prize. Maybe it's an instinct. The louder something is, the more it's worth. The more colorful it is, the more it's worth. But you need to know what you can sit with. Like, for instance, out on the road, I can see a truck that's huge and loud, expensive to run and to purchase, right? And it kind of wows you and it's surprising. It's like, oh, you can have this. It's like, no chance. Most people buy trucks where really all they want is a little car to get them from A to B. Some guys want bigger cars, higher maintenance, and they just can't live day to day with a boring A to B car. It needs to have all the bells and whistles, and they're fine to put up with a degree of stress for what they're getting. That's why you need to know yourself. And then you don't feel like a hypocrite for complaining about what you chose. Or more importantly, complaining about who you asked out on a date and who you kept saying yes to the point of you've had kids with them now. You've moved in with them. You've married them. You've given everything over to someone who was a red flag right from the beginning. It's amazing how many guys, when you ask them right from the start, when you started going out with her, did she exhibit these traits? Most of them will, when they're honest, they start talking, they'll say, yeah, she always had that temper. She was always like that. She was always like this. So it's very rarely that I can understand a person 8 months or a year into it. It's kind of like, I never noticed anything. There was not 1 ounce, and then she started to change. I buy that because so many times women especially can put on the mask because they want to get with the guy. They like the guy. They're not aware of why, but they're just overly polite and overly nice because they just want him. And so they'll just mirror him. But past that point, and especially the people that kind of marry or have kids with someone like in the first few months or something, we just knew. Really? I mean, I took longer to find a place to live or to buy a car or something. I just look at the big decisions in my life. Do you not know what a big and important decision is? Like, I look at, before I bought my car, I narrowed down when I knew that I wanted to get rid of my previous car. I'd had it for like something like 7 to 9 years, and it was still running well, but I'd saved up. I took my time because there's something really great about knowing what you want. It's not just an impulsive thing, whether it's a lover or a car or a home. Such a secure feeling where you know and you plan, you research, and you really want something, and then you notice month after month, the desire doesn't go down. Your secure level-headedness in this desire, it's a mixture of emotion and logic and rationality all going down the same path. That's a great feeling. It's not like this emotions going one way and rationale's going the other way and you're both pulling each other in opposite directions. You don't want that. So whatever you feel attracted to, guys, women or things, sit with it. It's not disappearing. Women are more than half the population. They're not going anywhere. And if she really likes you, if you're really compatible, logic would say you're going to stay compatible. If she's ready to bail, do you want someone who's ready to bail on you now? Right at the start, think about that. If she's ready to say, well, unless you say and do X, Y, and Z, unless you're ready to get serious, I'm bailing. That should tell you, if you were to agree to her conditions, to marry her, to be with her, unless you keep saying yes, she's going to bail and leave. Is that the life you want? It is so basic a concept. Do any of your friends and families? Does anything in your life that where you feel comfortable, does it give you that ultimatum? No. Yeah, Dario, in his super chat, he mentioned his breakup with his ex-wife hit him really hard. Malignant narcissist grieving process was a damn roller coaster. Men get, I know women will say we get hurt too. Again, I'm not just saying it because of the stats. 70 to 85, 80% of women, they file for divorce. They're the ones that leave guys. They're the ones that are always pushing. They're the ones that are nagging generally. They're the ones that are never happy. They're never happy with the guy they said yes to. Because they think, oh, it's not my fault. I just said yes, he's responsible for all of it. You're responsible for what you choose. If you bought a car that's always breaking down that you'd never wanted to research, if you're a woman that just bought a red car because it was pretty, and you didn't want to look under the hood, test drive it, research it or anything to see whether it was the right car for you, you can't blame the car or the manufacturer when everyone who you know, who you trust, thinks it's a lemon. Compatibility. Both people are responsible, not just men. Hey, Mr. Highway. He says, I notice that when I'm relapsing into my old blue PILL conditioning, I start to develop crushes more frequently. I romanticize the girl at the gym, coffee shop, etc. Yeah. With me, there are times when, you get moments where, it'd be nice to have someone to share this with. But also, I can't deny it's complete hell. I will never get that. I'll be able to get that more with a friend, family member, chatting to someone online, even a guy, just to kind of share something. But when I see a couple that's compatible, that just reminds me of what's hard to get. Never forget that sometimes when you see happy couples, it's because it's rare as well. It's not that like I just want it. It's that you have to be diligent, or if you just accept anything, you will never have that. Ever. So when you see that, for me, it tells me the importance of, if it still is attractive to you, how there's such a narrow doorway for someone to pass through in terms of your compatibility with them, if you are to ever want that in your life. It's easy to be, I just think today people are unhappy because they just lack the courage to do what they know they should do and act in the ways they should act to get the bits of happiness that they could actually get. I'm not going to say that they deserve, because you don't deserve anything that you don't sort of willfully make an effort towards. You don't deserve any of it. The rabbit doesn't deserve to survive any more than it can outrun the fox. There's a reality to life. You can't sit at home praying for the romantic scenario of the woman of your dreams to knock on your door, pretending to do a survey, and then your eyes meet and lock and you magically fall in love. That is the domain of women's fantasies. The passive domain of companionship and connection and human contact coming to you like a bouquet of flowers or a bouquet of flowers. And I think the way the world is, it's like men are relying on that more. And because of how dangerous the world is, I get it, guys, with the laws and everything, it's more and more dangerous, which is why how you speak, having some sort of determined will to say, no, these are my standards, this is what's right. And so when I go out in the world, if I do choose someone off a website or an app, I'm being very rationally picky, not ridiculously picky like women, where they pick the worst kind of guys, incompatible with them, incompatible with what they are in the hierarchy, whether they're closer to a 10 or closer to a average 5. Be very realistic and speak your mind. Be who you are, the way you are with your friends and family. No fear to just say what you want. Don't be obnoxious, learn how to speak. But this is a thing. Have a nominally courageous life so you can just speak and not have so much fear in your life, guys. This is a thing. You can hide and be safe, but still, I don't know, not get anything out of life because you know you're not taking your little recoverable risks that really aren't going to do any damage to you. You know, yes, every time I go on the road, I could get in an accident, but the safer I drive, if I don't drink, I do everything I can in my own power and will. I allow myself to engage with life with very, very low risks. I've always thought that's the way to live life. That's why I get joy. You don't get joy out of life and fun out of life. And I mean, I said it before, look at all the stuff that I enjoy doing, that I'm good at, that I have skills in. It's because I just tried, and I know I'm going to fail, but you keep yourself, your failures are kept way back. So failures just become learning experiences. Failure is like you want to learn to box. So you're fine with getting hit. And there's something therapeutic and clarifying about getting hit, especially for a guy. And a lot of guys have lost this. You know, they don't want to feel any pain. There's a lot of pain, especially for a guy, that's therapeutic and cathartic. It's kind of like you can't just kind of avoid the tactility of life and the experimentation and the adventure, guys. Remember, if you want to ask a question, guys, I'll put a bunch of emojis so I can see them. Mr. Highway says, it's crazy how human beings can know better and still do what's bad for them. Yeah, I know. I think there's opposing sides in a human being. I think it's there so to keep us from the grave, to keep us alive and moving, because if we're too still, the body wants to react to not be still, because being still is being either, see, there's two states. You can be still and then atrophying and dying, or you can be still and safe. And depending on where you are and your environment, you can oscillate between the two. So being still and not moving and safe is good, but also being still and not moving while the world moves away is threatening because you're being left behind. So are you being still and safe, or are you being still and locking yourself away in a prison? They're two very different states. So human beings are full of contradictions, but the more you can consciously be aware of what's going on and how you can operate when you have the chance to say and speak and do things with your will, the better. But if you're just a passive puppet, it's no way to live. There's a reason why people say, yeah, there's luck, but then there's another way of making your luck too. And it's the more conscious you are, the more willful you are, the more you express yourself, the more you know your values, and the more you have a moral philosophy that you'll speak all the time and you're excited to speak. I mean, I know I'm not everyone's cup of tea, you know, but at the same time, I know kind of who I am and what I like to speak about. Like just kind of like knowing who you are and expressing that. Like, I know I'm not rude. I know who I am is also not everyone's cup of tea, but that's great because I know when I feel alive like this, when I'm saying and being what's important to me. So why not be more of this? Because I objectively know I'm not being rude. Do you know what I mean? Like, be self-interested in this way. Then you'll start connecting to people and parts of your life that are compatible with you. Someone just left a super chat with no name other than 3 dots. Thank you for the super chat donation. He says, thanks for all the videos. Once you understand a woman's nature, you stop beating yourself up and start focusing on what matters, yourself. Yes, focus on yourself. This is the thing where women kind of say, oh no, when they pass midlife and they're saying men and women need to work together. Men's focus moves away from women and then to the world and his own life past midlife because he realizes he's getting older and he needs to take responsibility instead of wasting time trying to get women to go out with him. No matter how nice he is, no matter how hard he works, has a job, it's never good enough. He needs to be the top tier. He needs to be the 20% of men. He needs to be rich. He doesn't need to just have a job. He needs to be rich. He needs to have a good car. He needs to be overly romantic, take her to trips and holidays, and he needs to have the lifestyle and treat her in a way that she can brag to her friends about. So when he's tired of that, because a man instinctually knows that all the other people in his life he gets along with don't require that of him. They're just happy being with him. And the trust you get with other people where they trust you, your character, who you are, how you treat them, that's a really secure relationship that you can count on for the long term. The chance of betrayal is because you've trusted these people over time. But when you're with an incompatible woman, and most women out there are incompatible because they operate under today's hookup, materialistic, you go girl kind of, I'll settle down when I'm good and ready, which happens to be when your eggs have dried up, when the party's over. Now you'll say, oh, now we love nice guys. Oh, we always did. Didn't act like it. Look, your history matters, ladies. You wouldn't, if a guy had been to prison in his 20s, he was always just a history of violence. He comes out in his 30s and 40s. Rashly, you know it's going to be very hard for him. And why should a woman accept him or anyone or a job or anyone? Looking at his record, his resume, it's very difficult for him, even if he's changed, to get a job, to settle down, to have kids. He has wasted his life or lived it in a very frivolous, juvenile, let's say, less than sensible way. And it's rational that very few people are going to accept him. He's not going to have very many friends, and it's much, much harder for him to integrate into society, to get a good relationship, no matter if he's changed, no matter if he's seen the light. This is the same way that women need to understand. So if any of you guys are trying to give women an analogy of when they say, oh, we need to work together, why don't you want to settle down later? It's not just, yes, you didn't want to before, so it's not just that I'm bitter, that now I don't want to settle down. It's not that we're bitter. If you met a guy that in his 20s and early 30s, or just say 20s, he was a violent criminal, he went to jail, he's out, he's reformed, he's been, for the first half of his life, he was a criminal. He came out, you would keep him at arm's length. He would be one of the last people you want to settle down with. Unfortunately, most women in society are the last people men want to be with now when they're older. Because they've been sensible. They were nice people, or tried to be. And if women are honest with themselves, if they look at their own track record, the guys they didn't choose, or the guys they broke up with that were nice guys or boring, or maybe incompatible, but honestly, they're probably just boring and not exciting because they wanted the exciting guy, even if he wasn't right for them. If they're honest, now they want that nice guy. The guy they never wanted before because they didn't want to settle down. Anel says, human, why do you hear so much women say that they want a man to make them happy? Don't they know that you can't expect another person to make you happy? Yeah, that's another red flag, right? When someone, this is why words are important. When you understand your own words, guys, when you understand how your mind works, what you say, write it down on paper, you notice how you speak, you notice how you should speak. Then you notice when you're on a date, you notice how she speaks. You know how she should speak if she was compatible with you. You notice, oh, I feel odd. And you know why? because the words coming out of her mouth make you feel odd. Things don't add up. Why? They don't add up with your personality. They don't add up with your virtues and values. They don't add up with the Bible you've written for yourself that you adhere by now. Because you're going to set the trajectory of your life in a better direction. This is why it's essential to know the ethical, mental, verbal compass by which you direct yourself when you talk to a person. You demand who you are and who you're going to talk with. The conversation, the relational conversation you have with someone, that connection, your speech determines how on the same page it is. If you don't say anything, if you're just umming and ahhing, she's just going to lead you to her mess and you're going to become another X. Listen to when a woman's sort of miserable. She's been out with bad guys. I get bored easily. I don't like being at home. Like, just all the things that tell you she needs to be entertained. I can see why. You're paying attention to why she's been single. Has she been single for compatible reasons why you've been single? That's at least more rational. I know why I found it hard. I know where I'm not compatible. I know my shortcomings. I'm not perfect. So I know when I speak to someone, if the reasons why they find it hard dating, that we're on a date, is similar to mine and we're both paying attention, or who cares if she's not conscious of it, I'm paying attention because I'm responsible for my own love life. If I'm not paying attention, then I will get the same mess over and over again. And I'm going to be like many people out there, predominantly women, but a lot of guys today, that they think relationships are just like luck. There's a degree of luck, I know. But the more will you exert, the more conscious you are of how you operate and speak, the less luck it is. You make your own luck more and more. There is a bit of luck. There's less luck, the more consciously willful you are. So I get sort of... See the passion with which I talk about this stuff? I can be like this on a date if I start to get along with someone, because this is important to me. There is no reason why I should hold this back. This is what my life's about. Being able to know what I want, what I enjoy, from coffee to the type of woman that's compatible to me. There's a similar degree of passion in terms of being excited for the thing. Anyway, Feral Male says, well, was in a department store years ago with the girlfriend at the time. The store had these long benches of guys sit on it, looking down the row of waiting for death inmates. Was very funny. Yeah, take a look at some of the guys, the look on their face. You can actually see a guy that's depressed with the woman he's with. Jose says, do you think getting dumped can become a habit, like we subconsciously sabotage our own relationships? Yes. If you start looking at your own behavior, objectively know your shortcomings, and if you are actually at fault, that's good. Then you're less likely to do it later. Or if it's more that you didn't have anything to stand up for, you didn't actually care, you were just like a yes machine to any woman that will have you, that's also bad. There's no point being nice and saying, well, I'm so nice I accept any woman that'll have me. And look, that survey on Tinder, men are really reasonable. We swipe right and left 50% of the time. Women just want 20% of the guys. You need to know what your 20% is, guys. It's not so much, guys are more fairer. We're not so delusional in terms of, we've got a wider range, right? We're more reasonable. But you should kind of know exactly in terms of compatibility what your 20% of women is. And it's not just the hottest woman. It's the most compatible woman to you. Men should have their own 20%, and not about looks necessarily. Fair enough, it's a factor. You want to be attracted to them. If you can't go to bed with them, there's no point. They're all just friends then. So you need to be sexually attracted to them. But that's very quick. Remember the 3 things you need for like long-term compatibility. Physical attraction, which is easy. That's what everyone's doing and they don't go past it. That's number 1. Number 2, mental attraction. Things to talk about. Personality, character. And the third one, which is the hardest, if you can get all 3, that will determine longevity, is you want the same things out of life. You have the same virtues, values, temperament. You're an extrovert, she's an extrovert. Or you're an introvert, she's an introvert. So those 3 things are kind of the formula. Wolfgang, thank you for the super chat. His question is, 2 young women told me that being cooperative is degrading for women. Are we in peak clown world? Being cooperative? Yeah, they're the women you walk away from. You say, well, be happy on your own. Don't come back to guys like me in your 30s and 40s when we've had our fill of women like you. And then when we go on dates with women like you, we know what you speak like. We know your personality. I knew in my 30s and 40s when I started going out with women that were the worst kind of women in my 20s. The loudest, most obnoxious. I can tell when they're those kind of women in their 30s and 40s that are now acting subdued because the party's over. They can't be young anymore. I recognize, like look, I'm not perfect. I've made my mistakes, but you develop an antenna, and you only develop that antenna the more conscious you are and the more you care about what your standard is. Have a standard, guys. Don't just have preferences. If there's anything to admire about women, is that they have standards. Delusional ones, cut the delusional part out of your operating system, have very rational, focused standards, very narrow standards by which you're going to get closer to compatibility. Don't have delusional, narrow standards like women that are so far away from their happiness. Have very focused ones. Ricky says dating is just like pro sports. What win spreads? Women are like the boxing judges who favors knockouts but wonder why they only see sluggers because only a fool would try anything else. Yeah. Joe says, I realize I'm not easy to live with and I know I am the issue in a relationship. Look, I commend you for being self-aware enough to know that. Sometimes they are not always the problem. Realize being on my own is my utopia. Know yourself. Some guys are completely happy and blissful being on their own. If you know yourself, that's great. There's far too many guys, the majority of guys online, saying, I'm going to be a monk. And they're either frustrated, annoyed, angry, and they can't entertain a conversation with a different point of view. I know I'm different to other people, but I can even have conversations with rational, old school girl power women. Because it all depends on the person you're talking to. Personality matters. Don't just kind of judge people on their group dynamics. Then you're just going to be going out or having relationships with the group dynamic. Dan Rides for Mental Health says, do you think birth control has given rise to more hedonistic lifestyle for women? Yes. Then at the wall, the existential crisis for women hurts more. Yeah. The birth control gives them access to a drunken party in their 20s. No responsibility. You don't have to grow up in your 20s. And then later on where birth control actually isn't a positive. It's actually lost a decade off your life and now it doesn't actually benefit you anymore. And nothing will. There's no pill for your 30s and 40s to give women the same euphoria in terms of meaning in their life. Freedom, travel, partying, hookups and all this is great in your 20s. And the pill for women lets them stay at that party a decade longer than they need to. But then that pill doesn't help anymore because you become invisible. You're not invisible in your 20s because you're young and you're attractive. You become invisible, men and women, in our midlife and beyond, because that party's over for all of us. Men can keep that going because women find men's resources, their power, their protection and all this. There's those small factors that are still attractive to a woman because she fears being on her own and vulnerable. Not so much that she's attracted to the guy. Men are always just attracted to women, generally attracted to women in and of themselves. That's the betrayal of guys. A rich guy will love a girl with barely anything except a beautiful attitude that is compatible with him, and she just may not even work, or she works part-time at a supermarket. Or he can marry someone who's got a job or a career. So there's a wide range, but he likes her for her, the woman she is. Sometimes for how she looks, but at least that's her. It's all about her, physically or characteristically. With women, men's frustration and betrayal is because it's very little about him. Most women don't really care. They say they do. Women will say, oh, I like him for him. He just happens to be rich. But you ask women, what do you like about your husband or your boyfriend? Pay attention to what they say and see if they're describing his character and who he is, or if they're describing how he provides, how he treats her, how he's a good father, how they spend their time together going places. If it's all external, or is it actually internal? Is she describing his personality? Yeah, David P says, they want to drive the car but refuse the responsibility of ownership. Yeah, man knows, I like a car, but I have to be clear about what owning a car involves. With women, it's like, I want the car, daddy, buy it for me. Who Cares says, it's not up to me to teach her how to be a person. Yeah, I said this in a few videos previously. It's not my responsibility to teach her to be what her parents should have taught her to be. All you are given these days are empty shells that will scream at you for not giving them an exciting life or deflect their boredom. Yep. Hey, Boffin, how you going? Karu. You know what? In Streamlabs, when I'm using the chat in Streamlabs, it doesn't jump like when I'm using it on the browser. So I'm probably, let me race down the comments because I'm probably a little behind. I'm not ignoring the chat, guys. Let me just pop out the chat because I've got a 20-second delay. I'll open up the chat on the browser too, so that'll give me a few more. All right. Who Cares says, human, let's say you're in a relationship and you have a disagreements and mistakes made, not major, and you try to move forward, but the partner keeps bringing up said mistakes. How does that last? Yeah, if she's picking at small things, that's usually an underlying problem about big things, or maybe just your compatibility as people. Key himself, thanks for the super chat. He says, beware of female MGTOW channels like Casey West. Never heard of her. Yeah, I've noticed, especially in this last year or so, because of the way the world is, there's a lot of females making content that are being allies with guys. And it's great on one sense, but you got to understand why. Like I said, when you go out on a date or you meet a woman, why? Start asking her questions. If it's because she was at the party and she was acting like girl power before, when she was allowed to treat guys any way she wanted and times are good, how did she treat them? Now when times are bad, now she's being nice. Now it's probably a lot of survival. Now it's because I'm on my own. I can't act like this. I can't date. I can't swipe left and right. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't have a job. Where am I going to be in 1 or 2 years? Oh my God, like my world's come into focus. Pay attention, guys. Strength in Faith says, hey human, I really appreciate your vids. My relationship ended 6 months ago. After 3 months, I've been trying to recover the identity and sanity I lost. Any tips for forgiving and moving on? Do not stay alone if you can help it. Catch up with friends, be around friends more, because staying in your head, especially after you're heartbroken, is you're going to be down on yourself, especially if you tried everything you could, you were nice, you didn't really do anything bad, or even if you did something bad, the shame or guilt of what you did. So to actually move forward, you need to be less alone in your own head. After you've calmed down a bit, then it's good to think through things. The initial heartbreak period, you are torturing yourself by staying alone a lot of the time. You need to eat it. Don't get me wrong. You need to learn, but completely shutting yourself away and just being hard on yourself is not good. Be around people where you can actually talk. Let it out and try and understand that way with someone else in company. Being alone in your own head just exacerbates the loneliness and distance you feel and the loss. So be around people you can talk to. Feral Android says, it's been 3 years since my divorce, longest time ever being single. I have set up a perfect life for myself. I am very content, but I constantly feel like I need to add a woman. How do you get over that? Is it just biology? Yeah, I think a lot of it's biology. We need to recognize, just not be shy away from how we feel and not always try and cauterize just a natural feeling. I'm not saying you need to just now pick anybody, but if it's important, all right, like I said, I may shut the door, but don't lock it, and then make sure your values and your standards, it's a certain key that will unlock the door. Every other woman, the door is locked. She doesn't get to open it. You can be civil. You can talk through the door on a date. It's never getting open until you start seeing compatibility. What is compatibility for you? And that only comes from knowing who you are, knowing what makes you tick, knowing your personality. Yeah, Dan's right for mental health. He says, have 2 or 3 kids to Chads, then hit the wall and want some poor dude to raise their kids and fulfill their fairy tale. Yeah. Women always think they have this plan B. And I think a lot of women they think that men always wanted me. They're always there. And I could always have my pick. It's not too hard. I can party, but they're always going to be there. Now they kind of realize when biology reminds them, when the eggs dry up, it's kind of like, you don't have that currency anymore. The party's over. Men aren't there anymore. And now it's a desperate scramble. Unfortunately, women are loaded with the responsibility early, but if they're not raised properly, or if they're raised by single mothers like most of them are today, or raised in a family where you've got a father where he needs to keep his mouth shut, or he'll lose his family if she's going to divorce him. Again, your best chance, if you know you would like the company of a woman, or you want to get married, you want to have kids, is really have very good standards. Not high ones like I need a Victoria's Secret supermodel, but the compatibility comes first. And superficially, all the other stuff, if you can get it, icing on the cake. But if you want kids, you got to know what's most important. You can't be picking partners like women do, because they're not responsible. Ahmed Ghost says, should women who say bra generally be avoided? Yes. Donna says, I think she's saying she loves solidarity. She's been in lockdown 244 days here in Melbourne and single since 12th of April 2011. If you know yourself and you're really happy, that's fine. I'm pretty sure you guys have seen and read comments and talked to people. They tell you really in a forceful way how happy they are, or like, I don't need anyone. I don't need no man. I don't need this. Who needs women? It's like, okay, buddy. You're saying it a bit too forcefully for me to believe you. Yeah, Dan's Ride for Mental Health says, good luck finding a woman who can wax lyrically on philosophy. I'm not saying you need to be able to talk with someone. Like, I don't talk on this level with even my family and friends, but I'm saying in just a very basic level, if you're going to talk about things, you don't want someone that says, you overthink human. You're overly critical. Like, they don't want to hear your thoughts. It's different if I can actually talk to them, but I have to kind of keep the language simple to be able to express what I value. So they don't need to kind of know $100 words. They don't need to talk to me like on a high philosophical academic level. I've got a couple of friends I can talk that way with if I really want to get in depth. But you want to be able to. Do you just enjoy spending hours and hours with this person, and it's fun, it's blissful, it's comfortable, it's relaxed? Let me look at some of the comments. Scott K said on an older video, ultimatums, yeah, and the importance of defending your values in a relationship. He said, when I ended things with my partner this year, an argument ensued about how she thought I'd given up on her or given up on us. In honesty, I'd had countless conversations around the issues in our relationship and nothing changed. I explained that it took me breaking up with her for her to recognize just how bad things really were from my perspective, even though I'd made it clear many times in the past that there were problems with our relationship and that they were going on with little to no improvement. I told her, if it takes an ultimatum for you to take my concerns seriously, then this will only be a toxic relationship. It shouldn't take me threatening to end the relationship altogether for you to listen to me. I've been there, man. In fact, it happened with my last serious relationship where I basically said that when I was walking out, I said it's not working, and it took me to want to walk out for her to say okay, like she was sober all of a sudden. But it didn't last very long after that, because she just thought stopping me from leaving, that was all that was required, and she didn't need to try and be cooperative or meet me halfway. So it's ridiculous. Because when you've been so nice and accommodating that she's used to that mode, sometimes they can't see what they need to do, because they've seen like, well, this relationship was great when I just got my way all the time. We need to speak up for ourselves. Look, I wasn't perfect as well. My fault was that I was too accommodating, like so many guys, I suppose. But again, I'm not saying, poor me. That was my fault. I should have spoken up earlier. I did, but I kept giving her chances. My fault is I give women too many chances, even when I notice things are bad. Because I'm thinking, look, they might not see it. They're not responsible. They're blind to it. They could be acting childish. At least if I point it out, she'll have something to think about. And I think she might. And then time after time, logically, I can see, no, she doesn't care. By the time that happens, unfortunately, I've wasted a bit too much time. But at least I can sleep well at night, knowing that I didn't just bail because of something that I ostensibly saw from a distance. It may have been an innocent mistake on her part, but because I could express it and tell her, this is what you got to do, guys. You got to not keep it in and just get frustrated at her and ignore it and fight. Express what's wrong, what you want, why you're offended, what you need, especially have some needs, know what you need, and see if she's listening. And are you being reasonable? If she's not, then who cares? You need to prove it to yourself as well. You don't want to be a guy that bails early and then spend the rest of your life regretting being an impulsive idiot. I was not impulsive. I tried and tried and tried. I gave a lot of chances, and then I was out of chances. Karu, how you going? Karu says, don't be a monk, be a car salesman. Apparently, it brings a level of self-esteem that you never had. Added into that a layer of hucksterism and below to average IQ, and you've got the winning formula. He's being facetious. I think I know the kind of people he's referencing to. Yeah, Boffin makes a good point. Not enough guys are honest enough in telling women the good times are going to end. The party is going to end. The lights come on at the nightclub. 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning rolls around and lights on, go home. As Bill Burr said, no one's telling women because everyone wants to sleep with them. You need to be honest for your own sake. If the worst kind of woman, even if she is hot, walks away, you know it's, I know it's kind of hard because like, ooh, a Ferrari's walking away, but how many times are you going to pick the bad choice? Craw Stuff, thank you very much for the super chat. I appreciate it. Yeah, Wet Palette Warrior says, giving up, that's a classic line, especially from women, like you're giving up. Like there's a certain amount of abuse that you can't take. If you're always communicating, if you're always trying to talk, letting her know your point of view, and she's disregarding your point of view, she doesn't want to acknowledge that your needs exist too, that she can't be fair with you. Only what she wants matters. And you accommodate her needs, but then when you need something, it's like, I don't want to do it. I don't feel like doing that. That's not me. Well, there's a lot of things that aren't me, but I do them for us because I know it makes you happy or it's something that you want. So when it's time for me to get something, you won't even give me a little bit. That's when guys need to be more aware of voicing that. Hopefully, you wouldn't be with a friend who keeps taking advantage of you. Why would you be with a woman who does that? That's even worse. Because you're committing your whole life, everything you have, and potentially kids if you want to have them. I can see a bee floating around outside my window. It's approaching bee season when they start making hives. I've got to be careful if they start making a hive near my house. A couple of years ago, I had a swarm of bees trying to make a hive outside my bedroom. That's actually a good... hey, Red Pill Mentor Tokyo. Good to see you, man. Or should I say RP Mentor? You can't even say that word. I'll probably get axed for saying the actual word now. MGTOW by Logic says, don't pour everything into a woman. You'll find out eventually she's a funnel, not a cup. Especially when you're getting to know her. Look, you've got to pour a bit in to see if she is a bit of a cup. But you've got to be aware of these things. How much can she retain? Is she fair? Does she play tennis back and forth? conversationally and also needs wise. Boffin says, I don't think there are simple shortcuts. It's apparent he's responding to someone. Let's try another comment. Jack F. This was funny. Under my video, why do you still think about your exes years later? He says, I'm so miserable without her. It's almost like having her around. That was funny. Aplexity says, one of the most underrated talents a man can have is to have command of his language. Yes. And isn't it funny? Like, I noticed whenever I want to talk about the things that will really help a guy with taking ownership, how to think, his moral philosophy, the words he speaks, like the last video, they don't do well. The most popular videos for guys are the clickbaity, oh my God, check out this, the worst kind of women, how they act. These single mothers who expect so much. That's the interest that guys want to watch. They're the channels. And I'm not saying, like, I'd rather have the audience I have, but it shows you why most guys are going to continue picking the worst women, and there's going to be a lot of them out there, and you're just creating more of these women. Look at the types of channels that are the most popular, that are into the 500,000 subscribers, 250,000 subscribers. They're the ones that are talking about this stuff in a reality TV, Jerry Springer, Big Brother fashion. Oh my God, you won't believe what she said. Look at this wretch. Nice guys picking the worst kind of women. But when you make a video about thinking, right? You make a video trying to have a conversation about men thinking properly in a very stoic way. It's not exciting. It's not fun. It's not masturbatory. That's what guys want. It's like, oh, women, men, women, men. But this level, no. It's just like, we want to talk about women and men like this. It's like, well, don't come back later and I'll get these comments like, human, you need to make a video about how bad women are with this and this. It's like, you need to stop picking these idiots. Don't tell me what videos I need to make. Stop watching those, frankly, low-level, teenage kind of channels that are getting off on women and men treating each other badly. Until you're interested enough to think about yourself in a boring way, as I said, philosophically, get bored with yourself, you'll get happy with yourself. You'll get happy with your life. Remember, guys, if you want to ask a question, put a whole bunch of emojis on the right so I can see them. Spec Ops says, women are trained into girl power whilst we are trained into protect at all costs world. Yeah, God, says clown world. But yeah, because we have to. We know that we can't really be in clown world all the time because we'll be homeless. A guy can play video games, but at the end of the day, he's got to eat. My next door neighbor's revving his car. He builds cars. Jesus. I don't know if you can hear that. Mike B, thank you for the super chat. Another comment. Thomas says, you don't think about her, you think about yourself in the context of her. Oh, this is about why do you think about your ex? You don't think about her, you think about yourself in the context of her. Could you do it better? There is always a self-focused aspect in these ruminations. Yeah. Think, heartbreak can teach you things, guys. But don't just think like, if the only lesson you get from heartbreak is, oh, she was a then, and you're just going to repeat it and say, well, cross my fingers, let's go out with the same kind of woman. It's no way to live. That guy, Pete, you refused to invite the gatherings. That's got to be the longest username I've come across on my video, Are Your Words Holding Onto Your Ex? He says, I once heard a line in a video game that was probably taken from somewhere else. It was, are we more than our thoughts? An apt question, and I think since a lot of what we say and do stems from those thoughts, I would say perhaps we are not more than just our thoughts moving around in a sack of flesh. Woo, deep. Although, a good way of thinking about it, in terms of your thoughts are very, very important, in terms of they're the driving force of how you operate. When you're sleepwalking through life and realizing you've just wasted years, that's when you're not coming to terms with the quality of your thoughts and trying to have those mechanisms be as sharp as possible and consciously turning them when you can, when you should. Human is animated today. Triple XXZ channels like Darius M. Oh yeah, every time I see a thumbnail of that guy, seems like a nice guy, but it's so kind of, I don't know, not my cup of tea. It's just kind of the same old thing. I'm not a fan of dating hookup channels. I know that young guys really, that's what they need. Not what they need, that's what they want. It's like women are first, second, third place in their life. They don't care about anything else, not even their mental or physical health. Yeah, thanks, Donna. Smash the like button, guys. Hit subscribe, it helps me out. Brett C says, in terms of are your words holding onto your ex, where I was describing in the previous video, think about your language. These are the things that can really help you. You stop standing in bear traps. You know what a bear trap looks like. If you're not in command of your language and observing and listening to what she says and the kind of women you're going out with or potentially going to bed with, you're basically walking blind and hoping you don't step in a bear trap. How you think and how you speak and the confidence to speak allows you to see bear traps and not step in them, no matter how beautiful they look, how sexy they look. He says, the word X is too similar to sex, as in an X sounds like an annex to attach. Yeah, I thought about that too, when you say annex instead of my ex. So it's better to say the X or an X of mine, or some way to distance yourself from ownership of your ex. Former or past puts them clearly into the current frame. Oh, my neighbour's driving me nuts with his car revving. I think you can pick it up. Can you? Can you pick it up? I hope not. Oh, God, shut up. MK Texan, relating to the video also, are your words holding onto your ex? He says, I find myself cringing when I utter my ex-wife. See? See the power of words, the ownership you have and how they attach to you in a very meaningful way? I can imagine that my ex-wife. Think about it, my kids. Not just a kid. We live in language, guys. The meaning with which we walk through life and what we feel about life with the words we describe it with, in terms of that. We live in a narrative through language. He says, I find it cringing when I utter the words my ex-wife. Words do indeed have energy behind them. Yes, I need to change my terminology in pursuit of more expedited healing. Yep. Okay, guys, any more comments? Leave them on the right in the chat with a whole bunch of emojis so I can see them. And I'm not ignoring your latest comments. There's a 20-second delay. Feral Android says, can you expand on being bored with yourself and you'll be happy? It's a, I think it's a spiritual / Buddhist precept where, you know, people talk about, oh, I'm going to find myself. It's actually, in reference to actually getting, minimalizing, decluttering your life, getting rid of distractions. It's kind of the glib ways, be bored with yourself, but be alone with yourself. And people tend to find themselves when they go to remote places, when they go on holidays, like they trek somewhere in a remote country where there's no cities, where there's nothing except for you, your thoughts, and stillness. So you're essentially being bored with everything around you, and all you have is just you and where you are. So it's not really being bored with yourself, but it's a way of communicating with the modern person. Get bored with everything, be alone, and then you'll start to find answers. Armand Go says, does human look best paired with a brunette? Yes, I can tell you I am best paired with a brunette. I've always been best paired with a brunette. I have dated blondes once or twice. It's nothing to do with hair color, I know that objectively. But I have a European background. It's what I'm being raised with, my environment, the type of women I was used to growing up in school, friends. So I've never been attracted to blondes naturally, although, it is what it is. But yeah, naturally, I've always been more attracted to darker-haired European women. So for instance, for me, the supermodels that were always hot were people like, we're never, not in terms of attractive women, supermodels and celebrities, they were always more people like Cindy Crawford, Salma Hayek, Monica Bellucci, those kind of very curvy European type of women. They were never the Pamela Andersons, the platinum blonde look, the Marilyn Monroe. That, yeah, it's pretty, it's beautiful. I can't deny if it's attractive, but it's not me. There's a difference between what I naturally feel pairs with me, even on a cosmetic superficial level, compared to, yeah, I could because it's attractive, but yeah, kind of like innately it's not what I'm connected to. Chris, thank you for the super chat donation. I appreciate it. He says, thanks for creating a meaningful space to lead discussions for men with brains. I have found this channel and these discussions better than post-divorce therapy. I'm glad, man. This is what I wanted to create my channel so I could have discussions myself, because I had no one to talk to about these things. There's real value in writing and speaking to yourself and speaking on paper and knowing your own thoughts. But there's another level to be able to put them out of your mouth and speak with other people and have real life conversations. And then the benefit you have with doing this when you're in front of a woman, if you still choose to date, you're just improving. You're sharpening yourself to a degree where you're in more control of your life and you have less to be fearful about. And life is just simpler and better. So look, I really think the way forward for guys these days is not the clickbaity channels where you just say men are the best, we don't need women. You just kind of, you're becoming the other side of the coin of girl power, a lot of these channels. Yeah, it's good to realize the unfairness, but the strength of men is leaning towards the stoic. How are you going to move forward now? If you want to go your way, what is going your way? And that is a moral philosophy, stoicism, ethics, how you think, how you speak, and the ability for a man to kind of be interested in this. I think a man's got a much better natural hard wiring to improve his life philosophically, take hold of it like this, than a woman, because a woman biologically just defers to men. She doesn't really have to, even today. You know, her natural reaction is she's got society and men to lean on. Men don't have anything to lean on beyond themselves. So we've got a natural hard wiring to be philosophically interested. We're ignoring it because we can swipe left or right. No matter how many times we get punched in the stomach, we need to stop and say enough. Not we, you. I correct myself. Yeah, MGTOW by Logic is responding to something I mentioned before about women will be able to bed for one night a top tier guy, but they won't rationalize that they can't get him to commit as a committed partner, as a husband. So he says, Chad won't commit. She blames all men, then she blames all men and makes them and herself suffer. It's pretty sad. Yeah, the reality is, like, I can go to bed with a hot mess, a top tier female escort. But that's very different to naturally finding a compatible woman like that in real life that shares my values, that just likes being around me for me, that I don't have to pay her by the hour. She's not acting to be in front of me. You want a person who doesn't act or acts as little as possible. You know, there's a degree to being polite, but you want someone to be who they are as much as they can be, because that's the way you're going to engender trust. Okay, last comments, guys, and let's go to the finish line. Ricky says, women think of relationships as a step to get a better one, then a better one, then a better one until they die. Men think of it as the one and only. Yeah, that's actually a good point. Most guys, I know for myself, and I know it's anecdotal and subjective, I'm always looking for the one. I don't like spinning plates. Between serious relationships, it can be fun for a very short period of time, but it's kind of tiring. It's kind of like, I feel like I'm throwing, it's almost like, you know, when you throw your money away, like if I'm buying cameras every week, I can fool myself and saying, yeah, I'm experimenting. It's like, but I'm never sitting with the camera, making content, enjoying it, doing things with it, settling in life with it. But if I'm never actually taking the first step and just rotating cameras, I'm never actually creating anything with it. You know what I mean? I'm not moving forward. I'm not stabilizing my life through this thing that I pretend to love. It's the same with spinning plates and just hooking up. It's kind of like you're rotating and fooling yourself. Like I hear so many women saying, yeah, we're free, we're hooking up. I saw an ad, I think on YouTube, you know, the ads that come up for Bumble. And it's this, frankly, a 3 out of 10 woman saying, yeah, I like having fun, but I've always got my eye out there for the one. It's like, this is the problem, guys or girls. If you're out there having fun and you think, well, if the lottery comes into my life, then I'll settle down. No, you won't, because you don't want to leave the party of fun. The online hookup culture, the swiping left and right, the thousands or hundreds of people in your inbox just waiting for another date, another fun time, the freedom, never having to commit. Why would you settle for one person who has their own flaws just like you? No one's perfect. So everyone you meet, there's a perfection in dating everyone and never settling down. There's a perfection in that because it's fun. Do you know what I mean? You're going to a theme park and you're trying every ride. There's a difference from having that mentality to saying, I'm not going to a theme park. I'm test driving a car that's going to last me for many years or a lifetime. So if you're lying to yourself saying, I'm going to a theme park, trying many rides, and maybe I'll come across a ride that'll make me stop and I'll never go on any other ride in that theme park, you are you are full of saying that you're going to settle down in a theme park. Don't go to a theme park. Stop lying. And these are the things you notice when you're on a date with a woman and she acts like that. That she's been having fun, but she's looking for the lottery that you have to provide. You have to be the impressive guy that makes her stop going on rides in the theme park. Yeah, good luck. Let her keep doing it till the grave, not your problem. Sifu says, human. Sometimes we get stuck on the idea that things we have experienced is either us or they belong to us in the same way, programmed to believe we own an object. Empty the cup, you'll be limitless. Yeah, but it's different for every person. What mechanism or way of thinking can you use to empty your cup, to not hold on to it? Because we naturally covet and want to embrace things. The joy of life comes in embracing things. But there's also a time, like, you can't embrace the next thing if you're not letting go. Like, if I'm still holding on here, I can't reach anything else because I'm still holding on to here. I have to let go of here to move over and grab hold of something else. So whatever way you can do it, whatever language, whatever perspective, we need to find that way. That's why you need to be self-interested enough to introspect, to do that. Armored Ghost says, confirmed, human does not take dates to theme parks. No, more precisely, I do not go to theme parks. I do not go to theme parks for dates. Or I do not pick dates when you look at them, speak to them, look at their profiles that look like girls that enjoy theme parks. You need to be interested enough in the language and being observant in what you see and observe in a person before you even get to the date. Whether they're worth your time to go on a date, or you're just sort of deluding yourself like a lot of women, like, yeah, he looks like everything speaks bad boy, but he might be some romantic exception. Don't be like that. Be very, as I said, boring, plain, and know what you want. Judging a woman plainly in a very matter-of-fact way will allow you to have good times later. But wanting the adrenalized great times at the start by not looking logically by what you need and what suits you is almost guaranteed to have bad times later. Emong says, it is not working unless it's only her point of view. If she isn't in the driver's seat, you have to constantly check her when you navigate away from her destination. Yeah, that's usually what happens when you're not picking women who you're compatible with. You have more, it's basically she's driving the car into a wall and then blaming you for the crash. But you've got to be more conscious of who you pick. The moment she wants to put her hands on the steering wheel of your life, the stuff that you need to steer, is where you slap her hand away. Or you tell her to get out of the car. Tokyo Traveler says, a lot of entitlement comes from men protecting women from reality. Sometimes women need to be hurt, humbled, and to cry, stay grounded in reality. We don't let them cry. Yeah, men don't let them. Men refuse. Like the old ways have been legally and politically kind of. They've sanitized women from a lot of mature lessons they need to be happier in life. They've kept women as children, and now, as a consequence, also men as children, because romantically and connection-wise, men are always downstream from women. Whatever women want, men are always trying to sort of figure out what women want, how women want, what kind of men they want, what do they want from men. Women don't care what men want. They always know that men want them until they don't later on. where like when men are more comfortable with the lives they've been given by the refusal of women. Any more questions, guys? We'll wrap it up. So yeah, overall, I think just always it's the most important thing I think guys can do is develop an ethical understanding of what you want. Develop your own ethics. Have a moral philosophy by which you will learn to speak and engage with the people in your life. In a very normal, matter-of-fact way, speak your mind. Learn how to speak politely and better, so you know there's no reason anyone can get offended. If someone says, I'm offended, I can't believe you said that. If you know you said it as nicely and as civilly as possible, then you can know you've got nothing to apologize for, especially if it's your point of view. You have every right to speak your opinion and express who you are, especially in relationships. What too many guys do is they're mute when they're with a woman because they feel lucky enough to have her. Look at the reality. Women are most of the population. Most women standards for men are far beyond reasonable. So many women who are 4s or 5s think they're 9s or 10s. And they're the kind of guys they want, 9s or 10s. Yeah, it's nice that you get a bonus, but know where you belong. Know your range. Then you'll be able to engage with life more seriously. More realistically. Because if my standards are off in the clouds where I can never engage with life, I'm always going to be annoyed, angry, disconnected with people, disconnected with myself because there's nothing to connect with. So all these miserable women, they're not connecting with anyone or any guy or relationships in their life that are realistic. So of course they're depressed. There's that gulf between where you really are, who you are, your standards and your place. If there's no bridge to reality, like if you want to be the princess in a kingdom, but you're just kind of a nice, normal girl, then you're always going to be let down. You're going to be like the little annoyed girl who holds her breath until she turns blue, until she gets Prince Charming. Guys, learn who you are. Be interested in who you are. Have discussions with friends. Learn how to express what's important to you. Don't just be quiet. Don't go on a date with that feeling like you're 5 years old and you want mummy to love you. Cut the umbilical cord. Feral Male says, to be fair, if most guys could bag a supermodel or two, we would have stupid high standards too. Look, there's a saying as well. There's guys that can get the supermodels and they're tired of them too. So some of these guys, like, yeah, they've got good looking women, but if they show you photos of women they did date, they were even better than the woman they're with. So even they realized a lot of them that looks aren't that important. Looks are the easy thing. It's kind of like, if you know where happiness is in life for you, stop using standards that don't abide by it. If you know what makes you happy in life, stop going out there with women and dates that you don't use those standards as a compass. It's like, yeah, this way of operating makes me happy in life, but when I go on dates, I don't use that. That is stupid. Use that compass on dates. Use it everywhere. Those sets of rules, knowing who you are, your standards, you take that compass everywhere you go. When you buy food, when you stick to a diet, when you're organizing your routines, your health, the car you drive, how you schedule your week, how you find fulfillment from your week to week and day to day. Your sleeping patterns, your everything, guys. Like, have that compass. But most importantly, because guys can't lean on anyone, we're the end of the line. Learn how to be responsible for yourself. And most importantly, it's from this to this. And the best way to do that is doing this. Think of it like going to the gym. You got to exercise certain muscles. Anyway, guys, we've been going for approaching 2 hours now. T-Dog says, to be content, do you think men need a purpose? Don't get hung up on a lot of spiritual words. When they say find your purpose, it's very airy-fairy. It's it's very kind of vaginal language. Like, you know, find your purpose, and man, it's kind of like someone who's just smoking a blunt. Find out who you are, what makes you happy in your day-to-day life. How do you like spending your time? What do you like doing? That's your purpose. Simple. Don't look at big philosophical words and then get lobotomized by not being able to put handles on it. What do you enjoy doing? What is you? As simple as it is. That's your purpose. What do you enjoy doing that's constructive, that rewards you, and you see it's productive for you in your life? That's your purpose. That's as simple as it gets. All right, guys, let's wrap it up. I don't think there's any more questions. Keep the comments coming. And let's keep the more thoughtful comments coming. Even though some of the videos I'm making aren't popular as clickbait, they're not sort of throwing mud at men and women. I think for you guys that really want to move on and be happier and have better conversations, more mature conversations, and you want to grow up beyond the schoolyard, I just don't see any benefit for guys in their 30s, 40s, 50s still acting like they're in the schoolyard saying women are bad, or women saying men are bad. Like, we complain enough about how unfairly women operate from that point of view. They operate like they're still in the schoolyard and they don't grow up. And we want mature women. We don't want girls. We don't want dumb girls. We want mature women. Because how are you going? If you guys want to have kids, why would you want to have kids with an irresponsible high school idiot? You want to have it with a woman who's responsible. So start demanding adults. Start demanding an adult of yourself in the way you speak and the way you operate and how you take responsibility of your life. And demand adults when you go on dates. If not, let them stay in the schoolyard and keep making mistakes and popping out kids through 3, 4, 5, 6 different people. Who cares? Not your responsibility. This is your life. All right. It's saying that YouTube is experiencing buffering. I don't know. I hope it's looking okay. Anyway, guys, hit the like button, hit subscribe. And let's do it again soon. I'll see you in the next video. Remember, hit subscribe, hit like. It's free. Thanks to all you guys who have super chatted today. I appreciate it, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.